But we've been in a series called Rising Church, and today we're talking about Peter, as you could maybe guess from our scripture reading. And as we jump in, I want to read some statistics to you this morning. Any data statistics fans out there? Cool, me and Lynn. All right, we're both half Calvinists, and we both love statistics. There it is. All right, so let's check this out here. So 28% of U.S. adults are currently religiously unaffiliated. So you can see here, I know I tried to make the graphic as big as I could for everybody to see. So the bottom of the chart here goes back to 2007. At that time, there were 16% of the adult population in the U.S. that considered themselves nothing in particular on the religion box. The so-called famous nuns, and not the nuns that wear all black, but those who consider themselves with no affiliation religiously. And so you can see in just the span from 2007 to 23, about 15 years, a massive jump in those who consider themselves without any religious affiliation. This next one here, also super discouraging, so be blessed with this here, says that trust in pastors continues to fall. And let's be honest here, this one is sadly mostly deserved. All of us know terrible stories from what happens sometimes in church. And you can see this number here this is from Lifeway, from 2002 to 2024. You can see it go from about 2/3, under 65% there, to around 30%, which is really sad. So hang on to that one for me there for a minute. Now, we've been in this series called Rising Church, and I opened with some of this data here because it's a picture of, number one, where we're at. And before we can address anything about where we want to go, you first have to take an honest look about where we're at, right? You need two things to get anywhere. Number one is to know where you're going, and number two is to know where you're at. A map doesn't do any good if you don't know where you're at, right? And so here's where we're at. Listen, that's okay. This is just my niece giving me some amens down here. I know it sounds like crying, but it's actually not. And the mark of a healthy church, right, Tony? Singing men and crying babies, right? Come on, somebody. Was that Tony? Was that you? This is where the church is at. And yet there's also some encouraging data here that I also want to share with you. So throw up that next slide for me there, Jordan. Can we give it up for our guys in the back who work so hard on sound and tech every week? Thank you, guys. This is from an article in Publishers Weekly. Brenna Connor is a analyst, and they track publishing data. This is not a Christian organization, but they track book sales and publishing data. She said for the U.S. that 2025 marked a 21-year high for Bible sales in the United States with 19 million units sold. That figure, she noted, is up 12% compared to 24 and double the number of units sold in 2019. And so in the midst of some overall decline in Christianity in the United States, the number of Bible sales since 2019 has doubled, which is really, really encouraging and shows some signs of some excitement and some energy and some new life. Check out this number here from Barna, the next slide. It says 66% of all U.S. adults say they've made a personal commitment to Jesus that is still important in their life today. Now, here's what's interesting here is the second part of it. It says this marks a 12 percentage point increase since 2021 when commitment levels reached their lowest in more than 3 decades of Barna tracking. So since the last 4 to 5 years, there's been this 12 percentage point increase in adults that say they've made a personal commitment to Jesus. God is doing something these last several years, amen? I think there's one more. Throw up that last one for me here. This one is really, really interesting to me. So this was a survey by Barna about those who consider themselves churchgoers and how often they go to church. And I want you to notice here, this is a number of times attended per month from churchgoers. Notice who attends the most is not the boomers and the Gen Xers, but actually the highest percentage of churchgoers is Gen Z at almost 2 times per month. Gen Z, to put that in perspective, are those born in the late 1990s, so like 97, 98 through 2012. These are actual babies, okay? I remember talking to my friend Hunter. Everybody knows and loves Hunter, our intern here at the church, 18 years old. I said, Hunter, we're pretty close in age, right? He said, no, you are a dinosaur. You're 34. Now, that kind of hurt my feelings a little bit because I said, we young adults. And he said, wait a minute, who's we? Okay? And I realized that my good friend Hunter, 18 years old, is closer in age to my 4-year-old Zachariah than he is to me. And that made me cry a little bit. So I'm a millennial here, right? Stable in the millennial category. But I want you to notice here, this goes against what many of us feel and think and believe, which is that the older generations, they were solid, they were faithful, and in many ways they were. But God is doing something among the young adults in this generation. And that's a good thing. In fact, I can't spend the whole sermon breaking down attendance data for you. But for the first time in generations, there are more men in Gen Z going to church than there are women in Gen Z going to church. Now listen, it has been taken for granted for years that women were always more religious than men. Churches were full of women. Men didn't really want to be part of it too much. Wives were usually dragging their husbands to church. And for the first time in generations, men are leading the way spiritually to go after God. Now, what do we do with all this data, and what does this have to do with us today? Well, here's what I want to talk to you about today with Peter. Susan read for us the story of Peter's denial 3 times of knowing Christ. 3 times that he even knew him. And he had spent, of course, years following Jesus. And the reason I show you this data as we jump into this sermon is because we can look at a picture as we look at some of the data. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. And it's a picture on one hand of overall decline in the last 20, 30, 40 years. Overall decline. Less Christians today in America than there were 20 years ago, than there were 50 years ago. And yet, just in these last 3, 4, 5 years, there seems to be something that's happening with the number of Bible sales doubling in the last 5 years. And the number of Gen Z young adults coming to church. And there's a spiritual hunger that's happening. And so I think we're in a moment like Peter after the cross. I think we're in a moment like Peter where as a whole we can look and recognize some failures in the church. We can recognize some decline. And maybe like Peter, many of us are wondering if our best days with Jesus are in the past. And yet today I want to tell you a story from John 21 that tells us that our failure is not the end of the story. In fact, I would tell you this morning that the failure of the American church is not the end of the story. And I want to tell you today that whatever failures you've committed personally are not the end of your story. You see, this is a sermon for the failures. This is a sermon for the addicts. This is a sermon for those who can look back on great moments with God, but they feel like today they're a million miles away. It says in John chapter 21, starting in verse 1. It says, after this, Jesus revealed himself again, this is the risen Jesus, to his disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. He revealed himself in this way. Simon Peter, Thomas called twin, Nathanael from Cana of Galilee, Zebedee's sons, and 2 others of his disciples were together. I'm going fishing, Simon Peter told them. We're coming with you, they told him. So they went out, got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. When daybreak came, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not know it was Jesus. Friends, Jesus called to them, you don't have any fish, do you? No, they answered. Cast the net on the right side of the boat, he told them, and you'll find some. So they did, and they were unable to haul it in because of the large number of fish. The disciple, the one Jesus loved, said to Peter, it is the Lord. When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he tied his outer clothing around him, for he had taken it off, and plunged into the sea. Since they were not far from land, about 100 yards away, the other disciples came in the boat, dragging the net full of fish. All right, so let me set this up for you a little bit. Jesus in his ministry tells the disciples that if they want to follow him, they have to take up their cross and die. Jesus wasn't winning any friends with that kind of message. Didn't make him super fun and popular. Everybody loved the miracles. Everybody loved the free bread. Everybody loved water being turned to wine. And then Jesus said, if you want to follow me, take up your cross and die. And that didn't make him popular to anybody. And Jesus, as he progresses in his ministry, tells his followers, I have to die on a cross, but I'll rise again. And the disciples, they don't understand any of that. Peter actually at one point pulls Jesus aside, tries to rebuke him. Pro tip, don't try to rebuke Jesus. Doesn't go well. Peter gets called Satan and rebuked. Not a fun time. The disciples don't understand what Jesus is saying. What do you mean you have to die? He tells them multiple times. The final night of Jesus' life before the cross, he tells them, you'll all fall away. And Peter, bold Peter, I would never deny you, Lord. All the others, same thing. Oh, I'll never deny you. I'll never fall away. I'll always follow you, even to death. Peter at one point, in his pride, says, Lord, even if they all fall away, I won't. And then, of course, he denies him 3 times. And it says he wept bitterly. So here, Peter goes out fishing. The very thing that Jesus called him out of. If you remember, there were 2 sets of brothers, Peter and Andrew, and James and John. And they were fishermen. Not just for fun, but for work, for their trade, for their living. And Jesus, when he called Peter, if you remember, called him with a miraculous catch of fish. Peter caught nothing all night. And then at the command of Jesus, Peter pulls in more than he could handle, and the boat begins to sink. And Peter says, Lord, I'm not worthy. And Jesus said, come, follow me. I'll make you fish for people. And yet, after the failure, what does Peter do? He goes back to the thing that he was called out of. And you see the scene has shifted from that night of the betrayal, where he was cold, he's warming himself by the fire, people are asking him questions. And here, it's a different scene. They're on the sea, it's morning, it's sunny, they're about to have breakfast and a long walk on the beach. It's all here. And yet, even though on the outside looks like a beautiful scene, even though on the outside the sun is shining, we're chilling on the water, on the inside, Peter's not okay. And you see, what I have found is that life is sometimes like this. On the outside, things look okay. From a distance, it looks like everything's going all right. But on the inside, something is still haunting us. That the darkness of that night is still hanging over Peter's head. So he goes back fishing. I want to ask you this morning, how are you really doing? Not just the mask you put on for church on Sundays and people drive by the house and see the lights on and how you doing, neighbor, and everything's fine. How are you really doing? See, Peter goes back. He goes back fishing. But it says he caught nothing. And I like that a whole lot. Because sometimes in the grace of God, he won't let us run away again. See, some of us have tried to run away. But you see, when Peter went back fishing, it turns out that Jesus was also fishing, but he was fishing for Peter. And what I love about this story is that Peter's failure is not the defining mark of his life. Because when Peter failed and when Peter went back, Jesus came again. And Jesus called him again. And Jesus invited him again. And it turns out that Peter's best days with Jesus were still to come. And I want to tell you today, whatever failure you've done, however many times you've abandoned the call of God, no matter how many times you've committed that same sin that you said you'd never do again, I want to tell you today, Jesus is coming and he's calling you again today. He's inviting you again today. And you ran away and you went back fishing, but Jesus came fishing too. And he's fishing for you, and he's not going to stop till he brings you back home again. He's not quitting. Oh, listen, I could tell you stories of when you ran and when I ran, but Jesus kept chasing me. And my failure was not the end of my story. Verse 9, look what it says. When they got out on land, they saw a charcoal fire there with fish lying on it. I love that Jesus already had the fish and bread. Bring some of the fish you've just caught, Jesus told them. So Simon Peter climbed up and hauled the net ashore full of large fish, 153 of them. Even though there were so many, the net was not torn. Here we have the greatest words of Jesus maybe ever. Come and have breakfast. That's my favorite commandment in the whole Bible, right there. None of his disciples dared to ask him, "Who are you?" because they knew it was the Lord. So Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them, and he did the same with the fish. This was now the third time Jesus appeared to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. So they go back to the shore, and it says none of them dared to ask, "Who are you?" because they knew it was the Lord. And you get this sense in all the resurrection stories that Jesus is still Jesus, but he's different somehow. And people can't quite place their finger on it. And they know it's him, but there's something that's so different about him. And he's there and he's got breakfast going. And I want you to think about this for a minute here. Really think about this for a minute. This is Jesus, the Son of God, literally God in flesh. He just has this whole ministry, miracles, preaching, dies on the cross, rises from the grave, conquers Satan, sin, and death. What is the first thing you would do if you were Jesus with all of that being true? And here he is making breakfast. And not just making breakfast for guys that abandoned him in his worst moment. How do you think about Jesus? And if your Jesus does not make breakfast for you when you fail, you don't know this Jesus. You see, so many of us have a view of God that's like, man, I just have to be perfect, and you should absolutely shoot for that. And yet when we fail, we hang our heads in shame and we just give up on the call of God. And my best days with Jesus, I guess we're just back there. And yet there's something about this Jesus who looks at the failures of this world, the ones who betrayed him personally, and he says, come on, I got the pancakes going. Listen, 5 minutes ago, conquered death and the grave, and now he's making scrambled eggs. This is Jesus of Nazareth, the risen Lord. And he says, come on, guys, have some food with me. Come on, have some breakfast with me. Come here, Peter. Yeah, but Lord, maybe you didn't hear about what happened in the courtyard while you were on trial. Yeah, but Lord, maybe you didn't know about how I cursed and swore and denied that I ever even knew you. And he says, come on, the fire's ready. Have breakfast. You see what is so striking about this? I mean, these guys, they were the closest that there was. No one else in Jesus' whole ministry was as close as these 12. Jesus actually, it says, told parables so that not everybody would understand. Figure that one out. It says in John 6 that after the feeding of the 5,000, the crowd loved Jesus so much, they tried to take him by force and make him king. And Jesus fled. Who's got that kind of humility? You see, Jesus, he wasn't interested in all of the crowds. He was investing in these 12 guys. The future of the church is riding on these handful of guys. And at the moment when he's betrayed, the moment when he's being given over to die a torturous and brutal death, all of these guys, I don't know who that is. He spent years pouring into them. And unlike us, he's perfect. Someone walks away from me, I deserve it at least half the time. Don't say amen to that. These guys betray him. And what does he do? Man, if I was Jesus, we're having a meeting. Right? Call the board members. Bring a couple witnesses. Bring that girl who saw it happen. I'm laying into him. And this Jesus here, he doesn't tear into Peter. Doesn't even preach a sermon. He feeds him. And you see, there's something about this Jesus who looks at us with our failures, with our flaws, with all the mess of the stuff that we done, and what he does first. Now listen, there's some stuff to address. We'll get to it. But before we do any of that, have a meal with me. You see, in the meal, the fellowship is restored. Before we get down to business, Peter, let's talk a little while. Let's just eat a little while. Let's sit on the beach for a little while. Let's watch the water for a little while. And what this tells me about the heart of God is that more that he's interested in not just me doing stuff for him, he wants me. That he's not just using me to do a bunch of stuff for him, he actually cares about me. He actually wants to spend time with me. And with you. You see, the primary calling of the disciple of Christ is not the ability to do miracles. It's not the ability to preach sermons. It's not even to fish for men. It's to be with Jesus. You see, these 12 guys, they didn't understand half the parables. They rebuked him. They didn't think he should die. They had no concept, even at the end. 3 years. They had no clue what he was doing. And yet what marked them as disciples was not perfect theology, was not perfect behavior. What marked them as disciples is that they were with Jesus. I need you to hear this, church. Listen, There's theology to learn. Absolutely. There's ways to live, behaviors to get rid of. There's a mission to work for. But more than anything, you know what Jesus wants? You. He wants to be with you. He wants time with you. And I need you to hear this morning. Time with God. Prayer, scripture reading, worship. That time in your day, whenever that is for you, I need you to hear this. It's not a chore. It's a meal. Listen, I'm not asking you to do it because you better do it or else. I'm not asking you to do it because he'll be disappointed if you don't. I'm asking you to do it because our souls are hungry and he's got the breakfast ready. You see, I don't spend time with God every day because I'm a super Christian. I spend time with God every day because, like Peter, I fail a whole lot. And I need to come back to that table again and again and again and again. And my time with him, let me tell you about it. It's not a bunch of polished prayers. A lot of it is just sitting with him. And it's Lord, yeah, but don't you know what I've done? Lord, I messed up again. And he's saying, I know, son, come to the table. Don't you know I love you? Don't you know I'm for you? You see, at the table, the fellowship is restored. And sometimes, church, we make following Jesus about everything except actually being with Jesus. You see, time in the presence of God, yes, you should want to be in his presence, but guess what? He wants to be in your presence and spend time with you. You know the last time Peter was around a fire? It was that night, warming himself by the fire, that he betrayed Jesus. And what does Jesus do? He sets up the charcoal fire again. And instead of rebuking him, he feeds him. Look at verse 15. When they had eaten breakfast, Jesus asked Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said to him, you know that I love you. Feed my lambs, he told him. A second time he asked him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, he said to him, you know that I love you. Shepherd my sheep, he told him. He asked him a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was grieved that he asked him a third time, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. Feed my sheep, Jesus said. Truly I tell you, when you were younger, you would tie your belt and walk wherever you wanted. But when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will tie you and carry you where you don't want to go. He said this to indicate by what kind of death Peter would glorify God. After saying this, he told him, follow me. Fascinating. So 3 times Peter denies Jesus, and 3 times Jesus asked Peter, do you love me? And you have to imagine that there's something here that Jesus is restoring Peter with these 3 questions. And yet, what's so fascinating to me is that Jesus doesn't ask for all these promises. He doesn't say, well, Peter, can you guarantee you're never going to mess up again? He doesn't say that. He doesn't say, I really trusted you with a lot. I shouldn't trust you again. He doesn't say, sit through 14 years of restoration before I could even look at you again. All he asks is, do you love me? Do you love me? You see, St. Augustine said, all sin is the result of disordered love. Every time you and I have ever sinned in our lives, that sin problem is really a love problem. You see, because Jesus knows if we reorient Peter's love, he's going to be okay. And I don't need your promises because you'll break them. And I don't need your plan. And I don't need your guarantees. I just want to know, do you love me? Yes, Lord, you know I love you. Good, come on then. There's work to do. Yes, Lord, I love you. Come on then. There's a gospel to preach. Yes, Lord, you know I love you. Come on then. We got a world to save. Listen to me, church. My question for you today is, do you love him? Then come on. Stop letting your past hang over your head. His only question for you is not, have you never sinned? Is not, do you have a perfect record? The one question that matters is, do you love me? And if that question is yes, then come on and follow me. I want to tell you today, your failure does not define you. Your failure is not the end of your story. You messed up, get in line. Any honest Christian in this room would tell you they failed 100 times. And yet there's something about this Jesus. There's something about this man that he specializes in failures like you and me. He specializes in people that should be doing better, that should be further along, that shouldn't be struggling with the same thing again and again and again. And yet he says, come on, son. Come on, daughter. Follow me. The very same phrase that he used to call Peter back in the beginning. And I have a feeling that right now today, Jesus is issuing some fresh invitations to follow me. Some of you say, Joey, you don't know what I've done. Peter denied he even knew him. I think you'll be all right. Listen, I know your sin is bad, but your sin is no match for his mercy. Your sin is no match for his grace. It says that he removes our sin as far as the east is from the west, that he throws it in the sea of forgetfulness. And it says in the Psalms, blessed is the man, happy is the man whose sins are forgiven. Happy is the man whose sins the Lord does not take into account. See, I want to tell you today, Peter, whatever you've done in your life, his grace is stronger than your sin. His love is stronger than your weakness. Follow me. Follow me. See, the real problem for many of us is not that we don't trust Jesus, it's that we don't trust ourselves. We know ourselves, don't we, Peter? I'll probably deny again. It's what I do. Probably get it wrong again. And you know what Jesus tells Peter right before he says, follow me? He says, when you're young, you can go wherever you wanted. But when you get old, someone's going to tie you up, take you where you don't want to go. And John said that Jesus told him this to indicate what kind of death he would die. And it's not written in Scripture, but church history tells us that Peter died as a martyr for the faith. It says that he was crucified. And yet as they were nailing his hands and feet into the cross, Peter asked something crazy. Peter asked if they would crucify him upside down, because he says he wasn't worthy to die in the same way as his Lord. Peter, the scaredy cat, the denier, the one that was too afraid to admit that he even knew him, would die on a cross upside down. How? Because Jesus called him again. And Jesus invited him again. And I want to tell you today, I know you feel like you've always been this way, you're always going to be this way, there's just something broken inside of you, but you see, this is the same Jesus that takes guys like Peter and makes martyrs out of them. This is the same Jesus that takes Mary Magdalene, possessed by 7 demons, and he casts out every single one of those demons. This is the same Jesus that takes a storm and makes it still, and he takes water and makes it wine, and he takes 5 loaves and he feeds thousands of people. See, I want to tell you, no matter what sin you have, your sin is no match for the power of Jesus Christ. Who you've been isn't who you have to be. He makes Peter strong. And he says, follow me. Follow me. Yeah, but Lord, what if I fail again? Probably will. But come follow me. Follow me. And I believe from the bottom of my heart, for many people individually in the room today, he's saying, follow me. I know you failed. I know you messed up. Come follow me. And I believe in the bigger picture corporately. We're in a moment. We're in a Simon Peter moment as a church collectively. Full of failures. Full of mistakes. Christianity on the decline. But I hear Jesus issuing a fresh invitation to the church, saying, follow me. Your best days are still to come, Peter. The best days of your walk with Jesus are still to come. The best days of the American church are still to come. I see him working. You know how I know? Matt and Susan, where were you a year ago? In the bar. Baptized last year. Many of you were here. You know how I know he's working? Ashley, how long you been sober? Almost a year. Come on. Tim, how long you been sober? 20 years. See, this is a Jesus who doesn't leave us in our failure. And that failure is not the end. This room is full of people who've tried to follow and who have failed again and again and again. But I'm here to tell you today, Jesus has gone fishing. He's fishing for the Peters who have failed. He's fishing for the sons of Zebedee that have failed, and Thomas who doubted. And he's saying, come, follow me. Listen, church, God is working in this room. Some of you remember what this church was like a year ago, a year and a half ago. Half of you weren't even here. And I'm telling you, 2026 is a year where the risen Jesus is going to keep on drawing people and keep on calling people and keep on saving people and keep on bringing people out of death and into life by the power of his grace. So we're going to close by doing what Jesus did with Peter, and that's having a meal. Now, it's not a full breakfast. It's a little piece of bread and a tiny cup of juice you've never seen so small. But it's real bread now. We used to do the foam. You remember the foam? I had one kid ask me one time, why'd you make me eat that cardboard after service? We stepped up our game. You see, but there's something about this table which is deeply spiritual. Because it's a weekly reminder that even though we got some stuff to address with the Lord, and even though there's some stuff we got to get right, before he does any of that, Peter, he just wants you to come to the table.